You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Perfections, ooh, Sin City, Montana, Coke Boys, ooh, we run the city. Homie tryna keep up, ooh, they going broke. I'll finish your career, ooh, get a rope.
Warning, 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 warning.
Dope money, ooh,
That Montega,
in the spot, getting guap. Ooh,
that's hard labor.
in the club, popping bottles.
Yeah, we blowing that sour.
Hand for the real niggas.
Rest of these niggas cowards.
How you want it?
How you want it?
Hands gun or the knife.
Soon as your man see the barrel,
He gon' run for his life.
bullets flying.
Bullets flying.
Hello. Welcome to the Bleeding Edge Red Pill podcast. Right now we're waiting on some people. But yeah, we were just having a conversation backstage. We should just roll with it. And then I'll introduce the show a little bit more. We'll get hopefully some other people coming in. I think Billy the Goat we're supposed to bring in. Hopefully Tico if he makes it. But yeah, I think we're good. Good as it is. Did you guys like my? I made different thumbnails for all the different channels now. I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, that is pretty cool. I saw
Yeah.
that.
You can customize it per destination. I think I made Wynn's Batman.
Yep, I saw that.
Tico's was the Joker and mine was Bane. Yeah,
Nice.
kind of inside joke because we all had there was a movie trailer that Mr. Forma had made about kind of like this blaxploitation film that was like starring a bunch of people in the manosphere. Hilarious, man. It was so fun. But I was cast as Little Bane. Yeah. Yeah. What were we talking about? Guilt by association.
Well, you were talking about this guy that was like 40 hitting on 20 somethings on TikTok or something.
Oh yeah, like he's kind of like a cult leader / comedian guy. I don't know if we should say his name because he's kind of like he has a lot of controversy surrounding him and stuff. I don't want to like try to like jump in and actually speak on that, but it's just what would it be? I guess it kind of falls into the maybe loosely into like the vigilante category, or maybe even the Bane category. It's kind of like when I came up with these three different archetypes, it's kind of like they're one and the same person. It's just a different, I guess, like different color or different perspective, but all in the same thing. You have Batman, who's kind of like a kind of millionaire philanthropist, but he also.
There's Billy.
There you go, baby Billy.
Sorry,
I'm late.
It's all good. That's
How
a
you
cool picture there.
What's up, Billy? Yeah, I was just talking about the three archetypes that we can like keep going back to in this video. And it's not planning on being a fast vid or being a long one today. It's just I wanted to go back to what we talked about last week with that one guy, Roman McClay.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to say hello to the chat. We got D-Man. What's up, buddy? I see him in my comments sometimes.
Oh, thank you.
Corey Steele, what's up, man? JR, Absence of Sanity, Psych Soap. And that's all we got so far. I'm sure there will be more soon.
For sure, guys. Thanks. And we definitely have somebody on Facebook too, or probably Jordan Daniels or somebody new, hopefully too. Yeah, but they gave us a like already, so thanks. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, thank you.
Supporting. But yeah, that's so getting into the topic. You know, we have the trifecta of like Bane, Joker, and Batman.
Mhm.
Kind of like all different archetypes of people, all equally dangerous. But like you can see that they all have like different motivations, different origin story, but they all kind of like describe somebody that a man who's troubled and who finds a way of coping and is kind of like part of the city that they're in. They're an element of it that's an exaggerated element that's like turned all the knobs turned all the way up.
Hmm.
And I wanted to know because in this manosphere of individual people, I've heard it described as like wrestling personas kind of.
Yeah,
You have
1980s wrestling personas. Yes.
yeah you have these people that kind of fall into these three categories almost, or depending on your tinge of pill, you look at these people you have a bunch of people that look at these people in varying lights, whether they see them as a freedom fighter, a person that's trying to teach society a lesson, or just an opportunist that may or may not be able to help a person that's watching, an audience member. And there's like varying ways of supporting these people and being involuntarily supporting these people that we engage in when we like title our video certain things, bring up certain topics, and the kind of attitude that we present whenever we're making content. And in a way, all of these three archetypes don't necessarily address the problem, or at least the way that they address it is kind of like an indirect way of addressing it, because it's all on YouTube at the end of the day. So it's kind of we're all in this world, and then when we leave, who are we on the outside? Do we fall more into like this person that come on. I'm excited to talk about it, so I'm kind of like wondering where to start.
Yeah, I have some things to say, but I kind of want to pick Wynn's brain, what he wants to talk about, and Billy's always got good input too, but kind of want to see what everybody else is thinking as well.
Yeah, I want to pick Wynn's crystal skull.
Yeah, crystal skull.
What do you?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Hey, look here. I am sorry. I was busy trying to get some things taken care of with this trailer.
Batman's distracted.
Yeah, Batman's distracted, which can be very bad for Gotham.
Yes, it's very bad.
So you were talking about archetypes, like Joker,
personalities
Bane,
in the manosphere is kind of where he was going. We were talking about how like there's some guys that appear here. They're almost like, I've coined it as like 1980s, pro wrestling personas. If you're old enough to remember, the Ultimate Warrior and Hogan in his prime, and
I was old enough to remember. Yeah. I was able to. I watched the tail end of the highlight, the high point of wrestling. I actually saw the tail end of it before it got, what's the word? Before it went all Hollywood.
Yeah, hold on. Before you go, from my perspective, it actually is exactly like wrestling, because it's like there's a heyday of it, and then there's people that come in now that are like we're like post bandwagon almost. It's revived. The whole entire industry's been revived, and like
I 100% agree.
Right, and then there's people who haven't been a part of it that are now just getting into it. There's people who only remember the Rikishi days and like the days of the days prior.
WWF in its prime.
When Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan were still going at it,
Yeah, that's a good point, because I'm older. I remember what Wind is talking about. You had Macho Man, you had Hulk Hogan in his prime, Ultimate Warrior. You had, what was his name? The cop,
Sergeant Slaughter.
Sergeant Slaughter. You just had all these, crazy personas, and that's the way it's kind of being. And then you get into like the WWE Prime where they had The Rock and they had Stone Cold and they had, you know, all these guys that the younger guys remember.
Yeah. I definitely respect it a lot, almost too much to even get into, even start follow or even start trying to catch up, because it's like I just remember it as what I remember it as a kid, and like it may be a while before I go back, it may not, and I mean, and, you know, it's like
So
there's something novel about it, and like getting back into it and something
Yam,
fun.
can you repeat, like you were talking about 3 different archetypes that came to your mind? Can you repeat that so I can, you know?
Yeah, I think it's in the description, but yeah, there's Batman, the Vigilante.
Well, I'm talking about, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm talking about, you were kind of attributing this to, or maybe I missed the connection, but you're kind of attributing this to the, like people that are in the manosphere, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I missed the connection or
Thing
something.
is the connection. I mean, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Yam, but the connection, the way I see it, connection between Bane, Batman, and the Joker, how that connects to the manosphere, it depends on the person. Like me, I will, if somebody's growing up in or outside the manosphere, I typically like to like to call it out, which makes me kind of unpopular, you know?
Yeah, it does.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me unpopular in the manosphere because I call out anybody in or outside the manosphere.
Mm-hmm.
So that would probably make me like, I don't know, a mixture of like Bane Bane and Joker. Joker will work because the thing is, Joker, believe it or not, when the chips are down, he will work with Batman if necessary.
Let me jump in and elaborate here for you so that we can get some more context, because it's like the vigilante Batman, it's all 3 of the archetypes or archetypes, they all help the city express some unmet need, kind of. And for Batman, it's more pragmatic. He's caught in, everybody's thrown into the situation in Gotham. It's a city that exists but doesn't exist, and because it does that, it's a good map for kind of like either they're determining like human behavior in different groups or different parts of the mind even. And we lost Billy the Goat, which is really,
Yeah, we did. I noticed.
hopefully he'll jump back in. Well, let me take a breath real quick.
Sure.
So we have like a lot of different ways of expressing that, and then just boiling it down the way that Wynn did, I think is a good thought experiment, at least for figuring out like, okay, either how you describe yourself if you're a content creator, or how you view certain people, because when we're involuntarily have this guilt by association and this cutting feeling, this feeling of survival, of maybe even a secret or a burden that you can't really talk about. I think of like the regime of someone like Bane, who rules with an iron fist, kind of, and has this control over the populace, but indirectly through like a group of thugs, you know. And then he uses a drug. I mean, you get I don't not that you don't have to go deep in, you don't have to go that deep into it, but as what
Right.
but
Billy's here.
Oh, Billy's here?
Yeah, he said he's backstage.
I'm sorry, Billy.
Okay, welcome back, Billy.
Back.
No, I see exactly what you're talking about. Actually, I thought when you said that about like trying to rule with an iron fist and having goons, it immediately made me think of one particular content creator.
Wait, and then I'm sorry, the Joker was the last one. That was I think he's just in it for puerile entertainment. Won't intervene.
Well, he's just crazy and loves chaos. I mean, that's the Joker.
Like what Wynn said, where he said he'll help a person in and out of the manosphere. if he deems fit. That's like more pragmatic. But
Yes.
the Joker, he'll help somebody, but it's all for the show.
Well,
You know?
well, as far as Joker's concerned, and I do think I'm not talking about the content creator Joker. I'm talking about Batman's Joker. He just loves chaos. You know, he's just crazy. He loves chaos, and there are actually content creators who that's what they're here for. They love just the social chaos. They love to stir up shit, and that's all they want to do. So I'm glad you brought the archetype thing up because it is starting to, you know, I wasn't connecting the dots at first, but now as you've continued to speak, I'm connecting them and I'm formulating all of this in my head. But as an example,
I forgot to mention too. I mean, this is like,
go ahead.
This is one of the only when we lost wind again. You can see how a lot
Yes.
of
One in, one out.
Yep.
it's not like set up. It's a ongoing online adult continuous education program. That's I think is like something emphasized here. We're not doing this to make anybody. We wouldn't say anything to make somebody feel bad or be able to laugh at somebody just because for entertainment purposes.
Well,
it's like it's just a discussion center.
Yeah, of course.
You know, it's
I think I'd like your guys' help. I probably need it, but I'm thinking of the archetypes that we have here. So you have the guys in the manosphere that are the OGs. You have your Stardust, you know, thinking apes, and there was someone who commented last week who's tried to say Rollo Tomasi was a wave rider, and I just didn't have the opportunity to correct that. That's actually not true. Rollo's been in the game for a long time. He's now his YouTube channel itself is pretty new. That's only been in the past couple of years, but he's been in the manosphere for, you know, some of you guys were, you know, in elementary school when he was doing this shit.
Yeah, he pretty much evolved into like the YouTube thing is like a high tech adaptation for somebody.
He's been writing books since his book. He had his blog, and that's from at least 2012. The book came out in 2013.
Entirely, just like built on a different. It's built on a different foundation than how you would see most people nowadays.
So to continue with the archetypes, you have OGs that have been in the game for a long time and they're still doing what they've always done, or I think we've also talked about before people who wandered into the wasteland and disappeared and are doing their own thing. We could probably name some people like Barbar, people like that. You have the grifters, which you guys know are my favorites, and that's who I harp on a lot.
Oh yeah.
And there was something I think Yam said that made me think about this, but I come to the realization that a bunch of these grifters showed up coincidentally, and you guys let me know if you're connecting this dot too, but a bunch of them really showed up in 2016. 2016, 2017, after Trump won the election, all of a sudden, these guys show up. And that's where you get your Jack Murphys, your DDJ, you know, Missandry Todays, and some others that we can probably name here.
I came in at 2017, 2018. You know?
Right.
So by technicality, I'm a grifter.
But no, that's not where you're not here like trying to sell some $4,000 like boot camp. You're not here pretending to be some super expert martial arts, you know, master, lawyer, you know,
extraordinaire.
Yeah, you're just wind, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. That's grifters. I'm not talking about like you got I was going to get to the archetype, but you got normal people who come to the sphere, you know, because they could no longer ignore what was in front of their face.
Yeah. There's a good ignore it. That's for daggone sure. And
I mean, Wynn's a good example of somebody that does hide things about him personally in not a malicious way. It's to streamline the content more. But
I think it's also good to protect yourself to a certain degree as well.
Right. That's the 2016 hallmark, right? Like the milestone that we go after 2016 is a bunch of reckless, loose cannons that are capitalizing on the momentum of the political search for truth. You know, in a world where it's like nothing is really quite certain. There's a lot of like dips and valleys to how people experience things, and then go into a bit more. I want to go into more detail about these.
Well, I wanted to clarify something because of what the Dark Plague said. I'm not saying that just because someone showed up out of nowhere that automatically makes them a grifter. There are certain qualifications that make a person a grifter. Number one, them not being who they say they are. That's a major thing, right? None of us here are acting like we're just these millionaire playboys, you know, or some kind of super expert in something that we don't know fuck all about. We're all just dudes here having a conversation. That's what I'm talking about.
Similarly, like all the WWE people that played those roles, that's what we talked about at the beginning, are regular everyday people too. And then you have like fans who will put them on a pedestal. It's kind of interesting, like watching any celebrity that's in entertainment. You know, they just no matter. It's really hard to approach them without insulting them because you're at a distance at first when you interact with them.
Well, maybe you're just scared to interact with them because it's all in your head. And matter of fact, I was going to talk about this because do you guys know who Aaron Clary is?
Yeah.
Okay, so Aaron Clary actually hosted Rule Zero, I think, was it yesterday? And the topic of discussion was about hero worship and the red pill and stuff like that. And it was about this very same thing. What kind of got on my nerves a little bit in the chat is there were guys in the chat saying, oh, you know, there's nothing new here. This is all old shit. And what I told him personally is I informed him that, yes, you've been in the game for 10 years or whatever, and this is all old to you, but you're not taking into consideration that there are new people coming every day to the sphere, and they don't know all this shit. And that's why when people cry about, like, you know, the MGTOW guys that are always warning about the system and things like that, or female nature, people whining and crying about them doing videos about that, and they're saying, well, you know, I'm not a MGTOW, but I understand it. But they're saying, well, if you've gone your own way, then why don't you stop talking about this? Well, the reason they haven't stopped talking about this is they're trying to keep other guys from falling into the same trap that they fell into. That's why they're talking about it. They're considering
that they entered in
newcomers. Yes.
Yeah. Which I totally get that. And it's like with these three archetypes that I created, the Bane, or I invoked for this thought experiment. You have Bane and Batman and the Joker. Bane and the Batman are kind of in a set aside. They almost received training. I mean, everybody that is anybody in Gotham pretty much shows up out of nowhere except Bruce Wayne. And the fact that they get these special training at Ra's al Ghul's estate, you know, it's like a group of like shadow worshippers almost. You know, they have like almost this religious dedication to things, and for them to show up randomly. I think Wynn was talking about this with regard to the Joker and how he can be seen in a more positive light. You know, like the Joker, he just kind of showed up, and through, at least in like the Dark Knight films or the Christopher Nolan films, he showed up and he screwed everybody's plans up that they had. You know, like the police having a order. You know, the organized crime maintaining a veneer of order while still controlling things behind the scenes, and then like the Joker comes in and upsets all of that.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I was just ranting. What did you have?
That makes sense. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, Joker's even upset the villain's plans in many cases. You know.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, what I was trying to say. Yeah, so then So then, yeah, you have like these actors then that want to provoke, and then you have people who have a persona, right? That they're trying to be somebody that they're not. It's one thing to be a person who just naturally is very controversial, but then to come out of obscurity, and not just obscurity, but like obscurity, and then being a controversial person, you really have to do a lot of work to be transparent. Like, hey, I'm just a regular guy. I'm not doing this for, because I want a lot of smoke. I do this because, it's I enjoy the subject matter and stuff. And it's not like every use YouTube as an example. It's not like every gaming channel needs to have the same bent as like a games journalist, like network that enters in with like multiple people. Sometimes an individual's actions can like outweigh the group in a way, because just of the way that they kind of like are authentic, and or they author their way into the community. So it's like you have a lot of people that are premeditated, are very heavy planners, and then you have people who are very off the cuff, and sometimes it gets people's opinions overlap, and then there's a dilemma on whether or not to work together, or whether or not this person is a threat to my trajectory and all this, however steep it is that you want to invest into it.
Oh yeah, and as far as grifters are concerned, they're competing for eyes on the screen, and some of them, want you to pay them $4,000 and fly to Brazil for them to get drunk and pay prostitutes to pretend you're gaming them. But that's neither here nor there. But
you gotta be careful of the you gotta be careful of the goddamn what we call it, them femboys.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta, especially in like Thailand and the Philippines, I'm told.
Oh yeah. You up here thinking that you're dealing with a chick, they should like, oh no! I don't want to spill like a baby. Spill.
Nice. Well, there's that violating feeling. I'm like not talking about what you're talking about, but I'm trying to bring it back so out of the topic. It's like some people have felt violated over the years. I've heard plenty of stories from like Wind, and like you don't have to share them here, because it's a podcast, and like if it's relevant, definitely share it. But that different people have almost been victimized by the way that certain grifters make content, and it's like, depending on who you are, you now fit the archetype.
Yeah.
Or you're now a slave to the archetype that you, and then to just tell somebody, to get out of that rut, just be yourself. That's
right.
kind of like the blue pill coming back out of.
Yeah.
It's
shitty. Everybody should know. I mean, I used to be in DJ Misinjury Today's inner circle, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got tricked. He's, as you can see, if you've watched my shit, he's definitely not who he presents himself to be at all. And you do kind of feel like, fuck, man. It's not nearly as bad as when you have to take your first red pill when, woman stabs you in the back, but it's still like, you have to take the red pill when it comes to dealing with other dudes sometimes. And that's one of those cases.
I think about that with the DJ, with Angry Man, with Jack Murphy, with all these people. It's kind of like, if you're just you could come from whatever walk of life, but if you're part of the DDJ, the TFM server, the human server, the
yes.
drop big name server, you're kind of like a henchman almost, in that you can't really necessarily go after the boss.
You have to be careful not to. Yeah, exactly. You have to be careful not to.
The thing is
that's like art of like, that's like legitimate, like that's something that legit. If you tell somebody, Like, just go in there and fix things, call people out, do this, do that. It's like there's so much more at risk because you're dealing with not everybody's a media trained professional in this
Yeah.
space. So
Yeah. What I was going to say is you got to be careful not to become one of their goons. You have to, just like I was talking about the Rule Zero show that they did, don't fall into the hero worship trap. Everybody here, including people on this panel, are just regular dudes. You may like us, you may appreciate what we have to say, you may agree with it, you may think we're cool and like being here, but we're at the end of the day, we're nobody's hero. We're just dudes.
The thing is, it's like for me, it's like the reason I call people out because first things foremost is like I actually went ahead and I go ahead and I do put myself on the line, but with some form of protection,
Hello, Dan King. We can't do what we are doing now without MAGA Man. Thanks. Moment of silence for MAGA Man, please, in the building.
Yeah.
Continue. Or were you done? Because I was gonna.
No, I'm saying like I go out. I'm likely to go out and meet somebody because the reason is I genuinely do I'd like to be transparent as I can, at least with a couple people,
Yeah.
I mean, and for the most part, some of the people that I've met, it actually means something worth a darn,
Mm-hmm.
That's the fact that people actually have actually met me, and
yeah, it's like when they turn around after they look somewhere and they turn back around, you're gone, almost like Batman,
Yeah, it's like the people that have met me. I mean, it's like, well, at least some of the people. I mean, some of the people that met me, unless they know what they're expecting based on the tone of voice, they're usually caught by surprise. They're typically caught by surprise. They're typically caught saying, "I didn't know that he was this tall or he was this short. I didn't know that he was." I mean, he's the same way he is.
Yeah.
Offline as he is online.
Yeah, the difference being like accosted by one of these personas in the alleyway or in a secluded place because they're trying to manage their identity like online and offline, as opposed to with like the new era of Bane, seeing him on the news beforehand, realizing that this is a complete takeover. I want to go back to what you were talking about with 2016 and this jump off, how we're kind of orienting ourselves to this discussion. And a lot of people didn't even really despite what they knew about Donald Trump, they kind of, and this is gonna be a lefty take, so everybody prepare in the chat, right? Despite what they knew about Donald Trump and like what he might have been involved in, they kind of said that what he stood for was more important to them in their mind than like who he actually was and how they built it up. And you have some cherry picking of his business.
I'm gonna give you the full daggone story. He's done a lot of things that are basically going to be seen, are basically never going to be seen by the news media. Because if that ever came out in the news media, that would discredit a lot of news media. I'm gonna leave you to research that yourself. I'm gonna leave, like I said, because I believe that people should research things before they make a decision.
Agreed.
I did the leg work for me. I can't do the leg work for everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You got to find that out on your own.
It's almost like arguing. It's almost like we're on a debate stage, and you have to do work in order to argue your point effectively, especially in the like this digital noise of Gotham City type just chaos that we find ourselves in with the pandemic throwing everybody through a loop.
And that's the very reason why I tell people
It's not
Before
like
before you talk to me, do your research.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely do research. It's not like you can just, and that's the point too about either whatever you're trying to do, teach people, entertain, spread awareness. It has to be socially relevant. It's not like you can just talk about the red pill in a vacuum, and people are going to immediately like adhere to it or
Right.
be able to try it on. It's like a different size, or it's embarrassing. They want to have a room off to the side where they can actually see what they find their own drip on their own, as the rappers say. You never want to be just because you idolize somebody, you don't want them picking out your clothes. You want to be able to pick out what you like and express, at least to be
The thing is, like,
authentic. You want to be able to find your own beat. But
you basically, yeah, it's exactly what it is. Find your own beat,
Mhm.
And it's like it, and for some people that takes time, that takes
Well,
time.
the primary reason I brought up Trump in the first place is because these guys saw Trump win, and they thought of it as the changing of the direction of the wind. And so they felt like masculinity won, because remember, he was running against Hillary.
Oh,
The Satan herself, and he won over a woman. So that's why, at least in my theory, that these guys were like, masculinity is back in style again.
it's not.
Yeah, it
Never
was.
It's still at risk.
But to a grifter, that's the way they think. That's the way that the wind is going. So then you get your Jack Murphys and your DD shitbags and these other people that, I'm serious, they just appeared out of nowhere around late 2016, early 2017. They just poof, here they were.
And they're just basically like cockroaches.
Yep.
No matter how many you step on, they just appear, and more of them appear.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that people have been in at least this way of thinking for a while, the bleak thinking, like of because really in everyone's head, everyone can be in their own, Gotham City, their own like hellscape and stuff, and they see people rise and fall, like they hear even just rumors, especially if they're tapped in like directly to the manosphere, like they follow a specific content creator that makes content about the red pill or manosphere or men's topics or anything like that. They just have this like jaded opinion of everything, or an opinion where it's almost like ennui is how I've heard it described.
Ornery.
Like, yeah, it's just kind of like a grumpiness and just being like stunted. And I get that too. And it's hard to really just have
It's
fun.
hard to break out.
Yeah, it's that nihilism. They're like the character Eeyore, man, and just depressing. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, you never want to just flat back at them. Like I said, you don't want to just like lash out at random people that you don't think that it's just like a lot of people get a lot of flack that don't deserve it because of it's like collateral damage from doing all this stuff.
And some people that deserve it don't get any fucking flack, and nobody talks about it. So that's what frustrates the shit out of me. For some reason they're allowed to get away with it, and it pisses me off. That's why I do what I do, or have been anyways, because people ignore it. And again, going back to people are like, who cares? Well, the new people who are going to get screwed over, I think they should, we should care about that. So, I couldn't care less if you've been in the game for 10, 15 years. This stuff needs to be talked about. And if someone's a piece of shit, we got to fucking expose them.
Right.
And most people nowadays are starting to have that who cares attitude. Now,
that who cares attitude is very dangerous.
It really is.
On the contrary to popular belief, it is extremely dangerous. That who cares attitude gets people hurt, killed, maimed.
Well, that's exactly. Look at Roman McClay. I was saying this probably on the last week's show, the Roman McClay thing, which was kind of the topic we were hoping to work on today. You know, somebody had to observe something weird about that guy. Someone in his inner circles, people that were around him, had to been like, man, this guy, there's something off about this guy. But they said nothing. Next thing you know, he's shooting people up in Colorado.
For me, it's like I tell people, I tell people that there's something off about me. You know, everybody knows that I'm not quite there. That's the scariest part about it. Is the thing is that part of the reason why I think I'm still here is the fact that I know that I'm not quite right in the head. You know.
I mean,
Well,
I would, with all due respect, Win, as much as self-awareness is important, I kind of want to, I want to remain on the top. You haven't done anything to make anyone feel like you're not right necessarily. You know, you tell off-color jokes and everything, but at the end of the day, you haven't like done the kind of atrocities that are really out there. So
exactly. Most people who are in the red pill have sustained some sort of damage. So many people are damaged. Now, the question is, are you going to heal from that damage, or are you going to, go the other direction? And I don't think you're going to be a Roman McClay or anything like that from, my time around you. But I hope you don't, and I don't think you will.
Like a lot of work. It seems like a lot of work and wasted ammunition.
Yeah.
And then like just getting into it. Why? Like I don't want to obviously. Yeah, just getting into it because we brought it up now. We kind of this man who is a bearded lumberjack sort of a man. You know?
Yeah.
He's a burly type of guy.
He's one of those masculinity grifters, man. He grew a big beard. He's got some muscles. I'll give him that. But he's still off his fucking rocker,
and that's the sad thing is it's like the guy Warren Harding who got elected president like just because he was tall. It's kind of like he got a pass because he got a masculinity pass from a lot of guys out there that have a warped way of viewing what being a man is and stuff, and it's like seeing a tornado or something. You're not gonna hop to it and try to stop it because I mean he looks like Paul Bunyan. Like he looks like a guy that would, that was if you were a weasel or a squirrel around him, you better watch out to get stomped out. And it's even worse that he found a gang of people to really hang around and hide amongst, and kind of it's weird. It's a weird topic too because he's different from these other shooters that we talk about when we try to boost the message and we say, well, we're not like such and such. This happened. Tico talks about this a lot.
Yeah.
People will try to divorce from parts of the red pill and stuff like that. And we got lucky this time that he was a part of another group of a guy who's just recently had controversy, but let him have been a person that, had more of a relatable story. You'd see a lot of people, attaching to this person and worshiping him like a messiah. Because in a way, like he kind of is like a vigilante for some people. He's and in a way he's like the Joker, and in a way he kind of is like him and this whole group of 21 convention people are kind of just like a bunch of intimidation. Nobody deals in respect the way that they claim to when they attach money to it. It's more or less just a society of intimidation that you see actors that are experienced. Like I'm thinking like Alec Baldwin now. That's what's coming to mind for me because I follow that story. How he's just a guy like a guy with a vein in his neck and his head. It's just like it's such an intimidating person, not because they're particularly tough, but just because of their years of experience on you. Their experience in manipulating and being manipulated. It's kind of like trauma bonding almost.
Okay, this is interesting. because like I don't have that experience with any of these people, but I am older. So it's interesting to kind of get the perspective of a younger guy, kind of starting to connect some dots now that I'm listening to you. So I at first I was kind of like, how is anyone finding these losers appealing, you know? And then just listening to you right there, it's just like, okay, I'm starting to get it. And so I'd like to say, especially to you young guys, man, I know some of you might not have had a father or a very strong masculine influences growing up, and you're kind of looking for that. I understand that a lot of times you're looking for something that you didn't get in life. But I will say this. If you must have a hero, be your own. If you require one, be your own hero. And I know it's tough. It's a tough thing to do because when you haven't had good positive masculine influences, you're kind of lost. You're kind of like going through life like, I don't know which direction to go. But you kind of just have to go. Like, you're going to make mistakes. As a guy who's almost 40 years old right now, I've made mistakes. You know, my life is not perfect. If I could go back, jump in a time machine, there are definitely some things that I would go back to my past self and slap myself in the face and be like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
Like the red pill, at least from my perspective, it's been interesting to witness people say, like, once they find this space, they think, oh, you know what? Just retcon everything as red pill, and you know, I like there's not the self-reflection and that critical thinking kind of goes away because they kind of think like, you know what, I found this place, I found the hero in your example, now I'm saved already.
Yeah.
You know,
And it becomes like a religion to them. I think that's where you're heading with it is. It's almost like gospel. They found the hero and now all this is gospel, and that's why also when they attach themselves to these personalities, everything they say is gospel. You just don't question it. Now, that's obviously in my case not the case for me. I question everything, and I'm willing to tell someone when they're wrong,
There's a lot
no
of
matter
these.
what, if you like them or not.
The sad part about it is a lot of these people were not taught to question.
That's
You
true.
know, they don't know how to question, and when you don't know how to question, it's like you're what do you have left? You have nothing but following.
you kind of are just stuck with the entertainment, the roast sphere, you know, or the
Exactly.
thought shop. That's the only thing that's left once you take away the critical thinking and the self-awareness and the healing. It just becomes, you know, because I've heard people ask questions,
It
but it's
becomes
more
noise.
Well,
like,
it's kind of in a way, you said the roast sphere or whatever. It's kind of therapy. That's another reason. It's kind of like how I've talked about with the black pill, or when they all get together and commiserate about it's over, bro, and all that stuff. Like, it releases that chemical in their brain. It's the same thing for the roast sphere. It
Oxytocin.
yes, something like
tie,
that. Go ahead.
Can I tie in a few of what you guys are saying
Absolutely,
and
dude.
expand upon it a little bit? Yeah. So I'll start off with that roast sphere because you just said it. You said it right there. It's like therapy. Now, what is therapy? It's caretaking. So the majority of these people coming into the red pill, the sphere, the philosophy, etc. These are people who are looking for caretaking, which is why they attach, like you're saying, to personalities, or inadvertently also saying like seeking something they never got, such as like a father figure. So this is again these newcomers and inexperienced and wandering souls, so to speak. Not only are they looking for caretaking, but it's implied that they are very childlike, because children need caring for. So when they're looking for personalities or identities or role models or people to look up to or heroes, what they're looking for is a parental figure to take care of them. And so with these grifters, going back to the sort of grifter part of it, or any kind of figurehead pillar of the community. They're in an elevated position. Now, all right, a pillar of the community is actually, if it's as what they say they are, it's actually quite an upstanding person. It's someone who's holding up the community. So I'm not going to like beat on them, but the grifter style type of person who is basically trying to exploit people, who is someone inauthentic or disingenuous, someone who they're pretending to be someone who they're not really are. These types, how can I put this? So why is it young minds will become prey to it? It's because this fake image that they're presenting becomes a symbol. They're symbolized, and this is why we have all these comic characters. Like each comic book villain superhero has some sort of gimmick. If you notice, if you take away their sort of speciality quirk and just make them an ordinary person, they wouldn't be recognizable as a significant person to bother follow along. They'll be a nobody. So it's not so much like the human being that is Batman isn't as important as what Batman symbolizes. Same with the Joker, same with Bane or any other character. So like the Joker. So the human being that is the Joker isn't as important as the kind of mischief that the Joker gets up to and what his activities represent. So when we talk about why we like certain characters, we never really talk about why we like. I like his hair. I like how he. It's always about what they do or what they have, their attributes or something like that.
For like I said, well, I'll let you continue.
So
yeah.
So back to sort of saddling between the comic book characters and personas in the manosphere. This is why, like the bearded chap with the muscles, I don't know. To what extent is he consciously aware that he's doing it? But at least on a subconscious level, he's realized, right, to make my performance more convincing, it helps if I look the part.
Precisely, I think.
And then they lean on these different things, but they do it in such a way where it's like they're aware of who they're trying to target as well.
Yeah.
So if, for example, like with the beard and the muscles, that's trying to appeal to people who are feeling insecure about their own masculinity, their own physique, that maybe they are unable to grow a beard or something like that. So he's kind of filling that gap. You've got the other guy, the entrepreneur in automobiles, and so he's tapping into sort of the wealth of being of his character. So he's trying to appeal to people who like the idea of having fortune.
Well, he only I know who you're talking about, and Rich Cooper only really deals with people who have money. He'll give advice, but he's not trying to grift on people, if that makes sense. He actually is leaving the manosphere, and he's the guy who coined the term the mana swamp, which I borrowed for a recent stream.
Oh, yeah.
So if that tells you anything, I mean, people give him a bad rap, and I know he said some things about MGTOW, but he did come to understand it, like a couple of other people. He's not a bad guy.
The thing is a lot of these young cats didn't learn how to heal themselves. Like even if, like I said, look, even the Joker managed to heal himself. Yes, it's a little bit twisted and warped, but he managed to heal himself, which is what a lot of other men have had trouble doing. Because that's why you have so many of these people following these, I wouldn't say call them pillars, but I would call them frontman clickbait. You know,
Oh yeah.
I would call them frontman clickbait. And it's like because they're the whole thing is like they're never gonna teach someone who's new how to heal themselves, because they taught them how to heal themselves. They're in they wouldn't be able to grift, and they
Well,
wouldn't be able to grift
Yes.
and get that much money off of them,
That's
as
what
much money as
separates
they are.
a grifter from someone who's legitimately trying to help people. Right there, when just
Right.
he hit the nail on the head right there, because the grifters don't want you to improve. They want you to basically be on a hamster wheel.
yeah.
So that you got to keep coming back to them.
Well, this is the thing, and there are plenty of people, unfortunately, who will be codependent, or dependent on either grifters or whoever role models. This is the unfortunate thing, because statistically, the people who actually do the inner work of healing, like as Winnie is describing, is going to be minute. It's a fraction. And like you guys were saying earlier, the critical thinking goes out the window. Well, there was no intention or desire to actually do any critical thinking. And this is one of the sort of hurdles, obstacles, or epiphanies, I think, that happens to a lot of newcomers to the Red Pill. Like they hear the terminology Red Pill, they get a gist of the idea, and they think they got a golden ticket. Job's done, my life is good. And it's like, no, that's only like step one. It's actually, although it's a hard step compared to the rest of your life of hard grafting and actually getting yourself together. It's kind of like the easiest step in a way, because it's a baby step. It's just stage one. But these people, you don't realize that until you've actually like journeyed on that path for some time, and you realize there's a lot more to it than you first realized. So this is the unfortunate. That's a fork in the road of decision making for the newcomer. Do they actually knuckle down and do the hard work, or are they in so much shock at the revelation that is like, I won't actually. I'll try and do a bit of critical thinking, or I'll pretend to do a bit of critical thinking, so I can kind of validate or quantify my red pill status or title or existence. But they weren't really. They were looking for a way out, and they thought they found the red pill, thinking that this is the way out. This is their golden ticket out of the way out of their troubles and struggles and situation. So, but again, it's basically that same idea of these are people needing a way to cope. And at first they find the red pill, and then later on they need to find something else to help them further. So typically they'll look for people in higher positions or influential positions, and either emulate or get into their sort of group or sphere or something like that. And they're trying to piggyback their way through life. So they won't ever, if they're going to have that kind of mentality, they'll never heal. They'll never even probably attempt to want to try and heal. And that kind of thing will actually tear them up psychologically, because on the one hand, they're being told as well, like, look, guys, you're red pill, you're men, go your own way, you need your independence, you need your life skills, etc. So they have some awareness that they need to be standing on their own 2 feet. But if they've never really self-parented, or as you said, right, for like been a hero to themselves and kind of been there to protect themselves, then it's a want that they can't achieve on their own. They're hoping someone else will kind of pave the way for them, and it's not going to really work like that.
Right. And as some of you guys have been told by some content creators, and this is the truth, nobody's coming to save you. You have to muster up the strength and the fortitude to save yourself. And like I said before, you will make mistakes, you young guys. You will make mistakes. But you have to survive those mistakes and learn from them and not repeat the mistake.
Yeah,
that's how you become wise.
You do like exercise training, like build it up. You're not going to be able to save yourself in one day kind of thing overnight. But what you can do to begin with, as a little bit of advice for anyone listening who's struggling with this sort of problem, will be one of the first sort of battles you would face will be your own denial. So if you can get your head out of this la-la land that you're in and face the pain of having to do the hard work, having to whatever, acknowledge, be a bit honest with yourself, then that's a huge victory in the general direction of recovery, healing. I mean, they often say recovery and healing like interchangeably, but there are stages. So you would have to recover before you heal. So if you're not at that stage of healing just yet, at least think about trying to sort of recover and get yourself in the right kind of bearing.
Yeah, part of it is like fact finding and gathering useful and like validated information. I think we fall prey a lot to the looks, how something looks, or how when what to say, like clickbait,
Frontman
clickbait, and so having a support network too, because that allows for you to take a little bit more risks, because you have something to fall back on, I guess, in case the red pill doesn't work out, or in case it's a little slow. Because I think what to allow, or to like piggyback off something that you said, Billy, ago, it's kind of like you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So like if you found a lot of healing, it's great, but then at the same time you want to be able to do some of that on your own, or at least develop a version of it that is authentic to you. That way you're copying off of somebody else. When they're gone, it's kind of like, oh, now I need to find a new person to heal. It's kind of very outward.
I mean, when children are growing up, obviously their life experience is very little, and so what do children do to try and learn quicker, to get integrated into the world? They emulate their parents. They copy their mum and dad, or whoever is close to their primary caregivers.
Yeah, this is typically why I always talk about how people should be better parents, for the very fact that do as I say, not as I do thing doesn't work. I don't know where the heck that came from, but psychologically, kids learn from what their parents do, say, and how they act. There's no do as I say when it comes to that. Because I've heard a lot of women say, well, do as I say. Then their children grow up the exact same way. They grow up being the exact same thing and treating people the exact same way. Case in point, I was dealing with a patient recently who's a single mother. She's mad that her daughter does not have patience, or she lacks patience. Funny story. The mother lacks patience. Let that sink in for a second. So she's mad that her daughter lacks patience, and she doesn't want to deal with the dog, and she doesn't want to deal with the dog in a timely manner, basically, because she doesn't have the patience or the skill set to do it. I basically told the mother, well, you can't expect somebody to do something that they've never learned in their first place. Well, she goes, well, that's besides the point. It's a dog, and I got the dog so she can learn how to be patient. Well, like, you're not patient yourself. You didn't even let me finish what I had to say. You're not a patient person. Therefore, how is your daughter going to learn to be patient when you can't even be patient yourself? It's things like that people fail to realize, that all these actions that your children emulate come straightly from you or the people in their lives. If you have a jerk person that's helping you raise them, or an asshole person that's helping you raise them, it's no wonder why your child's going to be an asshole. If you have a person that lacks patience, it's no wonder why your children are going to grow up to be the people that you don't want them to be.
Yeah. So that's kind of why it's, even if you might have good role models, like to bring it sort of a little bit towards with the manosphere and young minds being influenced, even if they've got, well, they'll be selecting like which role model. They kind of like they're picking what kind of parent they want, what kind of masculine male or whatever symbol representation, identity will be their parental figure. Even if that person is upstanding and good and moral and etc., it's not going to actually be any good for that younger mind if all they're doing is literally basically carbon copying themselves.
Yeah.
So at some point, that young mind, at some point, whether they like it or not, is going to need to individuate. They're going to have to break off away, just like how children have to leave their parents and fly your own wings, whatever, like leave the nest.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if these young minds or people who are new to the manosphere, red pill, etc., aren't willing to venture out and take a risk on their own, to be able to get real life experience that is their own real life experience, then they're going to have a problem. It won't even matter if it's a grifter that they're following or a good role model. The point is that person needs to start thinking independently for themselves and making their own mind up.
The only problem with that independence is if you let your children have that independence when they're younger. Sadly, typically what ends up happening to your children is you raise a bunch of children that you can't control. You can't get them to crowd in. You can't get them to eat. You can't get them to do anything. But you raise an individual to be themselves, and now you're having many problems, a plethora of problems with your children now. Like you got to make like 7 different meals, and not because they're like religious purposes. It's because you let them pick and choose what they want to eat and what they don't want to eat. Sadly, I mean, it's one thing if they're allergic to it or they can't eat it because they get sick from it, but it's another thing if your child is telling you what they're going to eat in the house that you buy the food for.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, which in some ways makes it a little bit easy, like that fine balance of when to transfer the reign of control to the offspring. It's a little bit easier when it comes to like a biological parent and child compared to a persona on the internet and a whole bunch of young minds.
When you send people off appropriately, and then another thing, when does a subscriber know that enough is enough? Because like earlier we were talking about that a comedian that had like been a part of a scandal and everybody that they were that they used to work with roped into, and it's like especially because they were telling jokes. So it's like if you're laughing and everything's fun, when is it appropriate to like that bring up in a more important question or pay attention to something that might be getting out of hand, especially if it's all about laughs and fun and or promoting yourself as this alpha or promoting yourself as like a success. When is it that they don't really, I think like they don't give themselves time to heal properly. You just you gotta kind of just be ready for this.
Well, that's the point of healing. The sad part about that, a lot of people avoid trying to heal a lot, or they think they're healed enough to go out and try to teach people when in fact they're broken, and you're basically teaching other people to be broken. Yeah. You never want to be broken. You never want to be broken trying to teach a bunch of other people that are broken.
Yep.
Yeah, basically, it's kind of like our old theme song. Like, you don't want to be broken trying to teach broken. You don't want to, because the sad part about that, you're going to destroy people, and you're going to make people, but the sad part about that, you also got to take consideration too. You got a lot of people that like people like that because you can manipulate people like that and get people to ride or die heavily for you, which is sad if that's what you want. Like, why would you want people to ride or die with you unless you really don't have a cause, or you really don't, or not really teaching anything that's of worth or of value, basically. So you got to have people that are just rather to have people for you, with you, around you.
Then that becomes the currency they deal in. And then as long as you can pay, then you don't need extra.
It's kind of like the one stream that Hammerhand had made videos about being wrenched out of a stream.
Yep.
By another content creator. The content creator basically tucked tail, and basically said, "Well, I didn't see what was going on, and obviously, my moderators were responsible for this, and this, that, and the other." You've done live streams with the man multiple times. It's like you basically hid behind your moderators and threw them under the bus for what you did, instead of actually manning up and actually being a man that you claim you are.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So how can you actually say and preach stuff like this when in fact you're not willing to be a man and stand on your own 2 feet yourself? I mean, be it as it is, a very, very short man, but you don't want to be a man.
Shit.
Yeah, it's like there's a difference between being willfully ignorant and something just going clear over your head, like an adult thing. Like you got an adult problem to deal with, and it's not like everybody's like, I'm tired of the childish games and the back and forth and the drama. But then at the same time, it's like, but they also don't have that sense of when it's time to stop goofing around and get serious. So it's just like
it's not even just that though. Yeah, I see where you're going with that, but it's not even just that. You got people that'll do that and be participating in the mess themselves, or they'll say it because they're projecting that the very thing that they're doing their very self.
Yes.
It's like
That's
it's nothing.
common.
You're no better than the people we talk about on a regular basis. If you're going to keep doing it.
That's so common too, to accusing other people of the thing that you yourself are doing. So common with these guys. And I'll add something else. If it's too good to be true, as the saying goes, it probably is. And that's something you need to consider when you're listening to a content creator. When they show up to the scene and they say, well, I beat the divorce court system twice, and I did this and I did that, and I'm a fucking MMA fighter, and I'm that type of shit. And you just gotta take a step back and be like, this sounds a little too good here to be true, because it is.
It's like the people, the remedy communities that try to avoid bet retroactively. It's kind of just like it's a strange community because it brings in just a lot of people who don't want to. Because they
say that again, yeah.
Did I? Like there's this like remedy community of people that try to like absolve themselves of debt that they already have accrued, rather. And it's like it's weird because like I've been talking to Wind about that too, about when we would like discuss or argue, it's like
your audio is gone to complete shit, brother.
And say that again next time without the fried chicken.
Yeah, you need to do something about your microphone.
How's it going?
Getting better, but it still kind of sounds like you're underwater, man.
Okay. I'm not sure what changed. Nothing really changed. Here, let me.
So we talk about Wind or Yam. Wind always sounds like he's underwater.
No, yeah.
He's underwater, he's in the wind.
He sounds okay now, but we're talking about man.
We're talking about
Hold on. Try to see if I can jump out.
That's better. I don't know what happened, but it got better for a sec.
Yes, it did.
And then he goes.
Yeah, he said he's gonna hop out and try to fix it. He said,
"Okay."
But now let's continue discussion. There he goes.
Welcome back.
Guess who's back? Back again.
I'm either falling out or I'm sounding garbled, but
you're good now.
Working through it. All right. Yeah, no, I was just talking about there's I found a good example to bring up, which was like the remedy
the debt remedy community. Like everyone's like, oh, he made off with a bunch with, you know, he got rid of like hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, like in a single instance. And then it's like, oh, if you want to learn how to do this, you got to like pay my course and go through this whole thing and contribute and stuff. And it's like, it may work out for you, but it's a case by case basis. And
the thing is about is
here's the thing. That's nothing more than a Ponzi scheme. That's typically a Ponzi scheme. You're basically paying off that person's debt by buying into their course, basically. And then you got to get some people to buy into your stuff so you pay off your debt.
Oh,
it's typically how it works.
Scheme. Okay.
Yeah, basically the point is to get people out of debt, not have people pay off yours.
Basically, you're getting yourselves out of debt by putting other people into debt or somewhat of some debt or somewhat of a risky corner. Think of it like the frickin' Twitch and their the thoughts and the pay pigs, basically.
Oh yeah.
There was a video where a dude literally went homeless, paying for his month's rent to a Twitch streamer. Yeah. That's technically what you're doing when you deal with one of those people that talk about getting out of $100,000 in debt. You're basically paying their debt for them.
Mm.
It's sad, but it's true.
A lot of it as well is the appearance. So what Rife was saying about like if it sounds too good to be true, it's probably something being like left out, you know, like the truth kind of thing. So you might get someone who says like, look, I've got no debt at all. So on the surface, it sounds like, oh, this person must be very good with money management and they're not in debt, like the majority of people would be, kind of thing. But it's like, yeah, but they might not be making any money either. That's probably why they're not in debt, because they've got no money. You know?
Yeah.
So it's all, well, not I'm gonna say all, but a lot of the time, people will, whatever angle, even if it's not kind of like debt finances, maybe they're talking about women they've been with or something like that, or their successes in life. They kind of manipulate or you know, like put a spin on it to put it in that much more of a good light. Again, just to create a sense of credentials or validation, and it's not a true picture of what this person is.
They paint a cartoon tunnel.
That's a good analogy, Wayne.
I may be off about this, but I think it's also that creates an environment where if you're not showing your exploits and your successes, it's kind of you're not seen as trustworthy.
Yeah,
basically. You're not being transparent.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not transparent enough. It's kind of like my life. Like, I'm not gonna, be out here looking stupid, if I'm doing mercenary stuff, like, because that'll pretty much risk my contracts. Yeah, I can't be transparent all the damn time in my life, unfortunately. There's certain things that I can and cannot do, or I'll lose contracts or I'll lose a lot of money, basically. It's like, well, Kiko, you should take us on a tour with us when you go on your, when you go out on, no, you can't do that.
Teach me top secret spy shit.
Not even a spy. That's the bad part. Like,
and there's certain things that I can't do. Otherwise, I potentially could risk not only my security clearance, my rank, and my what little of a discharge that I'm going to have.
But it's like you have archetypes that get piles of money and literally just burn it in front of everybody's eyes. Too.
Yeah, literally, like that guy that rides around in cars.
That and now that you bring the debt thing, the debt scheme to the forefront, I never really thought about it like that. But it's always good to, because what Infamous was talking about that too. The hardest working people I've ever seen are people that get themselves in the debt and dig themselves out of it by themselves. It's not necessarily people because you need to make decisions, like what Billy the Goat's saying. Go out there. If you accrued a debt, pay it back. And that's what responsible people raise their kids to do. But then in this situation, and yeah, if everyone's scared of potentially projecting or doing something or being exposed or not living up to their audience's impressions of them, that they kind of just have to develop this media voice or this person
that isn't really them, and it's way easier to strengthen that individual than it is to just like sit back and just stack and move
what you're talking about though is a foundation. Like if you come out the gate and you're presenting this character that's not who you are, then that's what's going to happen to you, and it'll end up bad once people figure out, oh wait a minute, this guy was fake as fuck. But if you come out and you're just like, I'm just,
I'm this guy and the other, I'm this guy and the other, it's like, no,
I'm just Yam, this is me, and like it or not, that's just me. You're not putting on a cape and pretending to be a superhero and shit.
Here he comes.
You're just Yam. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
At that, well, I was going to say, at that point, you can't control how your audience, thinks about you. If they put you on a pedestal, that's on them. You weren't practicing any sort of deception, or anything like that. And I mean, it's sad if they put they put Yam on this pedestal, even though he never tried to act like he was a superhero or a badass or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And that's just on them. That's just on the individual themselves trying to look for a hero somewhere where they shouldn't have. There's a big difference between that and you coming out and pretending that you are like Bruce Wayne, rich millionaire MMA fighter, legal expert, super ninja guy.
But then over the years of,
I'm not even that good. Shoot, I stopped at like just a mercenary, and I just went to school, and I'm just an educated Afro Latino.
I'm just no, but you mentioned it. You bring up a good point, because it's like over years of podcasting and nothing more than that, really. I mean, just take your personal experience out of it. Like, you do accrue knowledge and connections, which are the only thing that really props up a Bruce, or that like validates a Bruce Wayne. So you can see how people will develop that impression of you, just because, especially if you've been in it long enough, and then that's where we get.
No, not really, because the difference between that is there's a difference between developing these connections and your parents dying and you inheriting these connections.
Yeah,
big difference.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah. Also, like, another thing.
It's kind of like the one content creator who everybody pumped up to the point that he turned around and stabbed everybody in the back.
Yeah,
he basically inherited.
I get what you're saying.
Whereas like people like us, we're basically working our way up to the top. Whereas they basically get boosted up, then they turn around and stab everybody in the back, and they basically make off like a thief in the night.
Yeah, exactly. But also how people see you. Like, I'm just telling you, Yam, if you're the same person with 200 subscribers, if you got up to like, I don't know, 200,000 subscribers, people would see you differently.
Without a doubt.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you're starting to become, with the 200,000, you're starting to become some kind of celebrity, if you will. And so they might start trying to put you on a pedestal, whereas the Yam with 200, you're just some dude, which is the reality in the first place.
Little boy. Yeah, they're like, go away, little boy, and like I've got that, and I think, and I don't want to pretend like I don't want to be, because when you were talking earlier, it just reminded me of like, well, a real based woke person would just do everything to make themselves look not like a leader, or not like, they would like even go far to like sabotage their own image just to get the weirdos from, just to like.
Well, it's also not believing your own bullshit, not letting it get to your head. So let's pretend you were the Yam that had 200,000 subscribers, and you could do this for a living now, because you got the super chats and all that stuff.
Yeah,
it would be wise for you to not let that get to your head, so you think you're some kind of big shot, and that does happen. You see that with Hollywood actors, and then that's what really makes you appreciate like the regular actors that are just like, I'm just a dude, they don't think they're the paragons of justice and and all that, and they're not trying to preach to you about which way you should vote and shit like that. I mean, that's
Yeah, well, that in this political environment, that's what it is. It's like if you take a super big role and then you take a smaller role and you're of an ethnic, if you're not white, let's just say you're not white, you're not male, people are gonna look at you as being not one. You have just so many pressures to fight against. You know, you're fighting against the pressure of people saying that you're not doing big enough roles. And like,
well, the neat thing about actors that do take smaller roles like that,
yeah,
is something I found out is they typically are more authentic than, I mean, don't get me wrong, they might be hungry actors, but typically a lot of them that take smaller roles in smaller like B movies or C movies and stuff like that, they typically are more authentic. They typically are who they are in real life at the end of the day.
That's where I was going with
like Samuel L. Jackson. He pretty much is the same MF in every damn thing all over the damn place in real life that he is in.
Yeah.
He's pretty much the same guy. I mean, Keanu Reeves is the only one that's different on set than he's different in the movies. He looks all regal and all this stuff, but in real life, he's actually a very, very giving person, a very, very charitable person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so you got people like that, like.
Well, you got Denzel like that too. Like
Denzel's like that.
Cool, dude.
Yeah, Denzel basically goes like you don't really hear very much about Denzel unless he's like walking down a red carpet or at some type of gala or doing an interview with somebody. You know, that's typically the time you hear about Denzel. He basically keeps himself out of Hollywood as much as humanly possible.
Yeah,
I don't blame him.
Yeah,
for real.
And now think about it, he's been married to the same woman for years.
Yeah.
Well, also Hollywood's a fucking cesspool, so I don't blame him.
Yeah,
for staying away from that shit.
It is.
Well, the cesspool thing is important too because I think like you have a lot of people that are just tapped in. Like moderators is one thing, commenters and chat people are one thing because they view this differently. But you have content creators that are in every other content creator's chat. And it's like it's one thing to be just a person that, like you said, if you genuinely want to help people, that's one thing. But then if you go into it with an ulterior motive and you're hearing what everybody else is saying, in a way, I had to pull back myself because I felt like it was it taints what you do if you just are always paying attention to what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
And like. Yeah, like I think like when the more open you are, the more you kind of have to be guarded when you approach places where, you know, as you guys were talking about with the acting analogy, there's going to be seedy people that are going to try to take advantage of you, you know. And I think it's like
it's kind of like
and I'm not afraid of it's not necessarily that you should be afraid of it, but it's just
here's the thing, and something that I noticed is like. Because when me and Wynn had this conversation, we first met for the very first time in life, he goes to me, yeah, people recognize my voice and they walk up on me and ask me about it, and like they see me in person and they're like, oh, you're a sadistic motherfucker, or you're a funny motherfucker, basically. It's like I like your videos, and it's like then he turned and asked me, he said, you show your face. Do people ever walk up on you? I go, no, they typically are too scared to walk up on me. Because I am who I am in real life. The same thing I do in a video is the exact same thing I am in real life. So people don't walk up on me like they will walk up on other content creators because they typically avoid me because they think that maybe I might punch them in the face if they bother me. They think that I may, you know, strangle them out or, you know, do some of that shit that I say in the video. And the sad part about that is it depends on if I'm with my children or not. If I'm with my children, you might catch a violent end. If I'm by myself, you can walk up on me. I'm perfectly fine with it.
I'm having an authentic nerd moment right now because I'm thinking like Tico is like Bane, like on the TV he's like a dictator, but in real life he's a real. Whereas like you will walk up on Joker thinking like Joker, not the content creator Joker, but the villain Joker, being like, you ain't shit, you know, like what are you gonna do? And then he pulls like a acid out of his the flower or something, or like pulls a bomb out of a hat or something, and then like kind of shows you. And then there's the people that are just impotent or no, you know, they don't really want to be the person that the identity they have online, whether or not it's like like a thought out, like methodically, like, all right, I'm going to preach this message, but I don't want to be that person that
I don't want to be that guy. Like whether it's really self-aware or if it's just like maybe the person mentions of being alpha, but then in real life they're a beta or something. In real life they're not alpha, or they can't possibly be on the level. No matter how much healing that they do, they couldn't live up to the thing that they portrayed on. So I mean,
that's why never portray yourself to be something you're not, and know
It's
as
just-
a man, you should know your limits.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like Tickle's actually like reflecting the things like Tickle's actually met me. I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I seem to be. I mean, I try to keep myself the same online as I am offline, but sometimes, I mean, I mean, Tico's actually talked with me in person multiple times. You know, I still owe him. I still owe him a book from the truck industry. But
he's talked to you not in person way more because you always call him.
yeah, and like the first things is like I said, I'm not about that life. You know, you remember? You know, Tico remembers that one. Even though he picked somebody saying if I keep messing with this person, I might end up having to be. I'm poking fun at Tico a little bit.
Kind of repeat story for this podcast. So I mean,
but the thing is like if you try to inflate yourself, first try to inflate yourself as something you're not, it's gonna collapse. You know, it's going to collapse. You're gonna fall flat on your face, and then everybody's gonna laugh. You know,
because you have to keep a lie on top of a lie.
Yeah. But it's like it's not necessarily. Is there such thing as like an internet white lie or something? Because it's like, yeah, we do. If you show your face, then obviously people are more invested. That's what Tico told me once. Like people care about
that is very true.
Dressed. But then if you hide yourself, or like if you're, and not to like bring this into bring it critically, but if you're a person like Bar where we never really saw the person, and it's almost like their issues or their problems they might be going through it's easier to respect and like let them go through it, as opposed to if you show your face and you have problems and you're not polished. People are
about showing your face. People feel like, number one, they feel like they can connect to you better, right? And that's why the biggest grifters show their faces. Believe it or not, the ones that do the best as far as grifting, they are on camera.
Yep.
Some people pull it off without being on camera, but most of them will show their face.
Okay. Yeah.
And
that's you pretty much just pretty much just proved my point. It's like if you show your face,
it's a good way to grow your audience. I will say that. But
the human element. It's called the human element.
Exactly.
You're showing yourself as a human being, so they're able to connect with you better.
Yeah, I mean, I go on cam every once in a while. It just depends. I'm not feeling photogenic, which is why most of the time I'm not. But I don't hide.
Well, I'm always feeling photogenic. It's just like always like, hey Tico, we should cam up this like next stream that we do, and he's like, why would we do that? People already know what we look like. I'm just like,
people don't know. Not too many people know what I look like.
Well, what I will say is when you do cam up, man, is like, if you're going to do a long stream, it's kind of difficult because you really have to pay attention. Like, you can't forget that you're on camera. So, like, certain things you can't do, or gestures you can't make, or
certain things that you do while there's certain habits that you're used to.
Yeah.
You can't do on camera.
Or you make a funny facial expression, and next thing you know, people fucking turn it into memes. You have to be mindful of all that. But it's it also is a good way to connect to your audience.
I mean, one of the reasons is I do it for. I basically don't. I mean, basically back to the point is like it's you also expose yourself to a lot of target practice.
It's true, yeah, because everyone's trying to hone their skills. That's why if somebody gets thrown under the bus, it's like, but yeah, going back to like the analogy of the archetypes too, you have all of the three people like Bane, Batman, Joker, like they're all media trained. Like they all know, even through exposing themselves, like the Joker does to the world, or like the way that Bane and Bruce Willis Bane and
Bruce Willis.
Yeah,
Bane,
Bruce Willis is
Damn.
badass.
Bane, Bruce Wayne, and Batman. They
Yeah.
all do the same Ra's al Ghul methods of like concealing themselves, deception, information, controlling information, and counterintelligence and stuff like that.
Information underground.
Yeah, they have a network and stuff. Whereas the Joker's like, you know what? I'm gonna tap into the emotions of people and make them join me, as opposed to just like keep compartmentalizing, like blocking and countering and like escaping and doing like the stealthiness. And I think you have that in this space a lot in the varying forms. Like you have people who are just out there that are honest about like this is the kind of trouble I want to start, or this is the kind of way I want to help. And then you have people who are like kind of fall in the gray area where you're not sure if they're a force for good or not. I mean, it's not like I'm saying that we have no morals, but there's some people that you're like, oh, he's badass and he's cool, and but I would never do what he does. It's just fun. It's just like fun to watch, or yeah. So, but then I guess the only thing to add to that would be if you're actually looking for a real healing or realness, are you gonna like shut yourself off from certain content creators when it comes down to it? Like what would the choice be?
You have to look for the content creators that just first off, like Tico said this in the beginning. He looks at the beginning. He looks at the person's early videos, and looks at the middle videos, and then looks at the videos of the rest recent to see the growth of the content creator, the growth of the person. Like for me, like my early videos, I was angry. I was pissed.
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was Redpill Rage. Yeah, toward the later date, like I began to mellow out. I began to calm down. I began to take the time to space out my words and think. And I get compliments. Well, I get compliments from people in my whole battalion because I space out the words and I give them time to think.
But in a lot of ways, you're still the same person, though.
Right.
And that's what's endearing about you. That's what people like about you. That's why they stick around. If you're going through transformations constantly, it's not like it throws people off. They're like always like, oh, who's this person going to be this time?
I'll give you another great example of growth. Like, who's enough of an OG to remember Messenger Rising?
Sounds familiar.
All right, I'll give you a hint. He's from the UK, I believe. He's a British guy.
No, that's a different Rising.
Am I the only one that knows Messenger Rising?
You probably are.
Oh man, make me feel too OG up in here. So he now calls himself Lazarus. Last I checked, but he was originally known as Messenger Rising, and like Wind, he was extremely angry. I mean, I remember this was when TFM server still existed in the early years, and people would be like, man, I mean, we're talking, these are MGTOW, the MGTOW of all MGTOW guys, and even they were like, man, this Messenger Rising guy, he's kind of like an extremist. That's the type of shit he was putting out. And then the last time I checked on what he had done after he changed his name to Lazarus, he was putting out some very calm, well thought out stuff, and he even was like calling people out, because there are people in this space who, I know a lot of people are angry at women, that are, at least when they're in the red pill rage space. But like, there are people who are so angry and they're like sociopathic. Like they laugh at, like, say they saw a video of a woman falling and breaking her leg. Like they laugh like it's funny. That's kind of, that's getting into the sociopathic sphere there, where just, I don't like to watch another living being suffer, especially if they hadn't done anything to me, or they're not a particularly evil person or thing. But
it's like kind of a laugh therapy meme. Like it's like, oh, we laughing. Like I have sarcoidosis. Ha 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 ha.
Well, I don't think that's
their own.
I don't think someone or something suffering for no apparent reason is funny, personally, but I'm not going to, push that on you guys. But I mean, I'm just using that as an example that Lazarus came out and was talking about that problem where guys were just like being essentially sociopaths. Now that he grew, like, because he was one of those guys that was like women are the devil starting off, and then he was much more balanced at the end. I actually kind of want to check and see if he's made anything new.
That would be yeah. I was gonna say, like, those words are so refreshing to hear in this space nowadays, because it's like from a person that's in it, not necessarily from the outside, like extremists, sociopaths and stuff. It's almost like we've gotten more used to the behavior, so we call it gets called out a lot less. I'm not really about younger guys or anything. That's more, I feel like that's more of like a grandfathered in problem.
The thing is,
people that are going
when you're younger, you have a lot more energy, and if you've been through a lot, you have a lot more anger to basically you have a lot more energy to express that anger.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like a problem. Like, just have more energy. It doesn't seem off the bat. It doesn't seem like that much of a big of an issue.
You also got to realize that with expressing that anger, it takes a lot out of you. It breaks you down. It does a lot of things to you that you won't see until later on.
Yes, and not just expressing it, but holding it in. I can speak from experience on that. I went many years where I had a lot of anger inside me for various different reasons. And I finally realized, like, this is taking a massive toll on me. Like, I have to let it go. And I did, and I'm much better off for it.
The thing, for me is like it took being away from my family for like 9-10 months, almost a year deployment, and learning about the red pill during the deployment to trigger it. It was built up. It was built up all these years, wondering what it is, what's going on, and as soon as I got the first red pill, first MGTOW video, it triggered the red pill rage. I was going through a red pill rage overseas, but I had to control it, I had to contain it until I got home. I made sure to, while I was overseas, continue watching content. And then when I got home, I just waited a little bit longer, and then I just decided to make the video. Started making videos. And my original, this channel was, my channel originally was supposed to be a gaming channel. Hey, it's what it happened. Now it took a whole nother direction. And it's what it is today,
I mean, just some comments. Anybody know what Pig Heart Dad is about?
Yeah.
Who?
There's I'll tell you. I'll explain it to you real quick. So basically, scientists, actual scientists, were able to replicate a heart from a pig. I think they were genetically modifying it so that it could go into a human, and they did implant it into a man, a dad who needed a heart.
Okay.
And it worked. It saved his life.
Oh wow.
He was on the list, I guess, for a transplant. You know how it goes. I'm not sure if you know how that works, but people need organ transplants, and sometimes they die while they're waiting to possibly get a donor.
So it saved him at a pivotal time. Like he got
Correct.
it. He got it again. That's good. Yeah, that's awesome. Is that why he brought it up?
I'm guessing. I mean,
it said the art was excellent. Rifle. What is what D-Man talking about there?
I'm not sure what he was. I was going to ask myself. D-Man, if you're still here, please
let us know. Let us know
what you meant by that.
I'm actually subscribed to him, to Lazarus.
What's up? What's it? I'm assuming that Maui Howie is yeah.
Maui Wowie. That's you know what that is, man.
Yeah,
Come on, man.
Y'all about to make me? There's some rapping on the chat.
That grass, man.
The grass.
It's some grass. Yeah, it's a type of grass.
Dark Plague said Donovan Sharp and Fresh and Fit would be grifters. Do we all agree on that?
Sorry. Yeah.
Is that drama mongering a little bit?
I actually don't mind. I have my problems with the way Fresh and Fit have done some things, particularly in the free speech, like what do you content? Like if what is it? Fair use. That's what I was looking for. So they were talking about. This is one thing I hold against them. One of the few things. There are some other things, but they don't want people to use their content, and they're going to strike people down. No, there's this thing called fair use, where as long as they're being transformative or talking over it or explaining, using it to explain something, that's fair use, and you shouldn't be able to copyright strike someone's fucking channel for that, which I think is bullshit.
I think there's fair use and then there's flare use. Like people want their content to be used, but they don't because they don't. You would. That's kind of wrong, right? You'd say like they do want their content to be used, but just in a way that makes them look good, right? Like they don't. They want it. They want people to clip their stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of how it would go. Like if I'm sure that if someone. Now, you guys probably heard of Think Before You Sleep. He took his shit down for this reason. Even though what he had up Fresh and Fit was favorable, he took it down anyways, out of principle. But yeah, I mean, like for anything, my shit, if you want to use anything of mine, fair use, I'm not going to strike you down. I couldn't care less. I let people, you guys know Dennis, I let him mirror my shit. I don't care.
Yeah.
And it's not like those guys are like hurting for money or anything.
You're not a troll, right? You would admit if you were a troll. Like a lot of every troll that I know that's like a real troll, they let people know that they're trolling. Because I see that as a pattern a lot. A lot of people would be like, a person asks a simple question, or even like what Tico said, just show up in a live stream, and they're already antagonized against. And it's like with the Fresh and Fit, my take on it is like. I'm just happy them bros were able to grow their channel as big as it is because you never see anybody who's new have that many subs. Like I think it might have been fake.
Well, no, it's the format. For better or for worse, their format is unintentionally or possibly intentionally red pilling people because there's a lot of people that show up for their streams that probably never even heard of this stuff. They're there because there's ratchet hoes on the show in Miami. And what they're getting is they're getting red pilled on female behavior. So that you got to take the good with the bad. Am I saying that these guys are perfect or they're on the up and up on some things? No, that's not what I'm saying. But there are good things that come with what they're doing. And they're red pilling people without them realizing they're being red pilled.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of how you kind of want it because most people, if you try to red pill them directly, they're going to be like They're
They're
going to
gonna
kind
push
of
back.
refuse. Yeah, they're going to push back against you. They're going to try to spit the red pill out.
back at you. Like there's been people because they are separate. There's been people who red pilled the black pill community or red pilled the MGTOW community or like separately from normal people, like people who are keyed in or clocked into the actual manosphere. They get red pilled by other members of the manosphere too, and it's kind of like the way that a lot of people move, and rightly so, is they kind of look at it like Batman. You know how Batman has like a plan to kill every member of the Justice League, and also he could just level the city of Gotham if he wanted to with his resources, but he just like he thinks about it and he lets people. Whereas like the Joker sees society, he gets so angry he just wants to tear the whole thing down, even though he can't, even though there's so much. He gets so close all the time, but the way that his mind works is when he sees stuff happening, he reacts like emotionally to it,
Yeah.
and that's why his don't fly.
Well, the Joker is a manifestation of chaos. He's like chaos incarnate, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, like a demigod of chaos almost.
Whereas Batman kind of wants order. So they're diametrically opposed.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting stuff. Oh, I was almost done. Fraud and Fed, D-Man. We had Sherm over here.
Oh,
yeah.
D-Man wanted to know what we were asking. By the way, yeah, I see that. But what we were asking about, you made the comment about you were saying something to me about the art being good, and we were trying to figure out what that was all about. D-Man.
That art's what's up. JR also mentioned something about art. I was like, what are we talking about? What art?
Maybe it's those thumbnails or whatever you had put together. I don't know. Maybe he can answer us in a minute.
Liana. Yeah, the what was that? One more content or comment, I think. Oh, when I see the Joker now, I think of SPE. He's talking about successful, right?
I have no idea what SCE is.
I think it's like successful endeavors.
Successful endeavors. E-Man's a long time running.
Okay. OG.
He's an OG. That was funny. You're like, I'm feeling very much more OG now that I didn't get that you used. I just thought it was interesting that I'm getting pretty OG here.
I'm glad somebody was there when somebody was able to witness the early version of me on this panel.
Oh yeah. So he was admiring your art, or whatever you put up. There it is. We've been answered.
The clips I got just from, or the images I got from Google, all themed red because Bleeding Edge and the different archetypes. You got the Joker. I think I put Batman up first. Well, that's kind of it for the topics. Unless anybody felt like they wanted to, like that we should back up and go over something again. I do want to keep these under 2 hours for the most part because they kind of get long, and a lot of the stuff we could always work on it. We could always work on it for next week.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
So, but yeah, I appreciate the comments, guys, the engagement, and everything. Pasta showed up, and Chris Mitchell. I don't know how long you guys been watching, but if you're just showing up, definitely go back and take a look at the rest of this stream. I just made like under 2 hours, just so you guys can fit it in. I know people are really busy, but we're gonna go ahead and do. We're gonna go ahead and do outros though. As well as closing thoughts too. Sorry, that's what we're gonna do first. Closing thoughts and then outros. Billy, you've been kind of quiet. Do you want to start us off?
You merely adopted the dark. I was born into it.
That good old Alfred.
Anything else, Billy?
No, not really.
Is that it?
No. Thanks, guys, for having the stream, the panel, the chat box, and see you all. Take care. And see you all next week.
All right. Anybody else got closing thoughts?
Now, these people are gonna eventually all eat themselves, and I'm just ahead of the curve. Now, this is the closing thought. This is the outro for me. Learn how to fix yourself before you try to fix other people, because you're just gonna do more damage to other people, but you're also gonna do the most damage to yourself. This is Redpill in the Wind. See y'all next week for the next Bleeding Edge Red Pill, and see y'all next Friday for when she hits the fan.
Chico, you got anything, man?
Tico?
He must have stepped away. So all good.
I'll plug real quick, and then if
Okay.
we can go, and then if Tico's, you can go in that. Just Baron, watch Bleeding Edge. There's a playlist on, I think, one of either Tico's channel. I think Tico's channel. Some of them, but you can find them all on our channel. Starting a couple months ago, we've been posting to all 3 channels here that you see at the top. So go ahead and check those out. And peace, everybody. Stay well and be healthy. And now I'm gonna hand it over to Infamous Rifle.
Okay, thank you, man. I hope you guys have been watching my videos. I'm going to go through a grocery list before I take my semi-retirement, so I'm probably going to be rushing through them, and it might seem like I'm posting a lot more often than I probably should. But again, I would appreciate your viewership. The second before last one I did was really heavy. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it if you want to know more about my favorite grifter, and just be prepared. It's a feature length one. Also, now that I'm done shilling myself, you young guys, listen, don't be afraid to fail. Sometimes you got to take a risk. Sometimes you got to make a plan and you got to go for it. And will it work? Will it not work? Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But you can't be afraid to fail, because you'll never be able to take a step forward if you're paralyzed with the fear of failure. And that's all I got.
Yeah. You want to tag team Tico's outro?
I'm here. I was going to say, basically, Infamous Rifle basically covered it for me. So this is just Tico. Listen to what Infamous Rifle said. Don't be scared to fail, basically. Don't be scared to take the first step. Don't be scared to fall. Don't be scared of none of that stuff, because the sad part about that, the worst you can do is just get back up. Dust yourself off and just keep going, or, that's the worst thing you can do, is like just that. So just get back up. I mean, you're just going to scare a lot of people because you thought you're going to fail. You're going to stay down, but you don't stay down. That's scary to a lot of people. Just keep trying. Keep plugging at it. If it's something that's not going to work, recalibrate your focus or what you got going on and readjust everything, and maybe that'll work for you.
Yeah, I think
just don't give up.
I think regardless of how you view certain people, and until real live facts come out about something that they did that was bad, I think it's just good to just celebrate people's growth and being able to make a mistake and recover from it. But sorry, I just felt compelled to say that since you were. It was a good message, Rifle, for real though.
Yeah.
Let you guys.
It's basically like the message I always say at the end of everything. Don't be afraid to grow. And always grow, and always, reflect on yourself and view everything the same way. It's the same concept. So, yeah, I ain't got no problem with that. Good message, as always.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys. And we are out. Peace, all you risk takers.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Perfections, ooh, Sin City, Montana, Coke boys, ooh, we run the city. Homie tryna keep up, ooh, they going broke. I'll finish your career, ooh, get a rope.
Warning, 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 warning.
Dope money, ooh.
That Montega
In the spot, getting guap.
That's hard labor.
In the club, popping bottles.
Yeah, we blowing that sour.
Handful of real niggas.
Rest of these niggas cowards.
How you want it?
How you want it?
Hands, gun, or the knife.
Soon as your man see the barrel,
He gon' run for his life.
bullets flying.
Bullets flying.
Bullets flying. Hello to J-Mo.